Hi.
Hey, Lisa.
I'm in.
Well, that was annoying. It didn't automatically remember my my login.
Oh, no.
Morning, all.
G'day, mate. How's things?
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. I went to start the meeting and it said authorized people only. Please sign in, and then of course I couldn't. It didn't seem to have remembered my password. So what a pain. Anyway, got there eventually. So I think we probably were going to have a fair bit. Oh no, there's another person arriving. A few other people joining us.
Sorry, guys, it was me who took the photo last week and sent it to Tom. I just thought it was good with having everybody on their cameras at the same time, so you can blame me for that. I should have asked permission first.
No, it's good. It's good. Morning, Meredith.
Hello.
Welcome. And sorry we had a bit of a hassle. Well, it's my fault this morning. I couldn't seem to sign in to get the session running, so it took me a while to get signed in via University of Melbourne. This problem, I've now got at least 3 Zoom accounts, so trying to remember the right one to log in. Okay, we've got a few more people joining us. So let's just go through and everyone just introduce themselves very briefly. I'll get James to do that last because he'll probably going to take half an hour. So let's start with Lisa.
Yay! Hello, everybody. My name's Lisa Ransom. I work for Old Lab, which is kind of like a centre for learning and teaching at AUT. I look after the LMS and anything connected with that, but also involved in kind of academic stuff as well. We're going through a big kind of process at the moment with trying to get people online learning. So that's a big thing for us. And we're supporting faculties. Also kind of in the special interest group, I've been doing my CMALT. I've done the CMALT and it's been submitted. I just haven't had anything back yet. Mind you, that was January sometime. But I'm interested in all mobile stuff and special interest stuff that Tom's been interested in. I've been working with Tom for a number of years as well.
So next on my screen, I've got Neil.
Oh, good morning, everybody. I've met several of you, but some I've never met. I'm based in Japan. I'm an English teacher. The academic year in Japan usually begins in April. And so I should be in my 2nd week of teaching, but because of the virus, we've delayed teaching and we're all going online from Monday. So my job over the last 2 or 3 weeks has been to try and help my colleagues who've never done any online teaching at all get ready for that.
Certainly interesting times. And Tom Worthington.
I'm Tom Worthington. I'm an honorary lecturer in computer science at the ANU in Canberra. I'm also been teaching the new tutors in the places. I'm one of the handful who knows stuff about education there. I've been teaching online for about 10 years, and on Monday morning I have my first Zoom-based workshop with all of our project students who the last thing you have to do is an e-portfolio, which we disguise as writing a job application. So it'll be interesting to see how the students cope with doing this. Normally we do it in a purpose-built building, but of course that's not possible at the moment. And I've just been helping people out with bits and pieces. I gave up my CMALT, I think it was 2 years ago, I must admit. I really must get back to doing it.
That's okay. We'll probably we'll be planning on relaunching the CMOOC for the 2nd semester and seeing if we can pick some people up. Meredith.
Hi, I'm from University of Melbourne, from Faculty of Arts. And Tom, I'm very excited that you've now officially started at University of Melbourne, even though you're not physically with us. And I look forward to giving you a tour of Faculty of Arts in the future when we're back on campus. So I manage e-learning, e-teaching in the Faculty of Arts. So I have a small team that I manage of ed tech type people, videographers. I mainly do learning design myself. I've been interested in mobile for quite a long time, particularly from the perspective of what students can do themselves. We've been doing a little bit of interesting stuff with SeekBeak, which I first saw used by Tom. And yeah, particularly interested in sort of assessment design and tasks that students might be able to do. So that's really my interest in this group. And I should just let everyone know I'm going to have to leave probably in about 10 minutes. I've got another Zoom call to join, so apologies from that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, seems to be the age of endless Zoom calls at the moment, isn't it?
Yep.
Anyway, so I just left one and I had to try to start this one, and then of course didn't get my password right, and then I've got another one after this one as well. So yeah, interesting. Okay, so David, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm David Sinfield from Auckland University of Technology.
I see you're in your lounge rather than your garage.
Oh, listen, listen, this is just to prove that I don't just live in a garage, so I thought I'd just give you guys a little bit more background, kind of eye candy, But yeah, sure. Listen, I've worked with Tom for many years. I'm a practicing communications designer. That's why I teach, moving image and graphic design. And Tom and I have we've done some cool projects with our students over the years. And in these times of delivering stuff more online, it's obviously becoming more and more appropriate now that as lecturers be more adapt to learning online. So that's that. Oh, and by the way, CMALT, I got my accreditation beginning of this year. So it's great.
Yeah,
thanks.
One of the few. And finally, James. Last but not least.
Right. I was just say, g'day everyone, I'm James, and I look at mobile, mixed reality, augmented virtual reality. I teach at Bond University, and I'm currently trying to transition existing face-to-face courses to online mode using Unity 3D and other technology, including 2 new courses. So my next 3 months is going to be course design and transition of materials for learners. See, didn't speak too long today.
Awesome, great summary, thanks James. So what I thought I'd do is I just quickly do a bit of screen sharing and sort of overview some of the tools that we've been using to host and facilitate the SIG. And feel free to ask questions and button as we go along. I'm sure that James will. And then I've got a question I'd like to ask everyone. So I thought if I'd ask you now, then you can sort of think about it while I'm doing the quick overview. Really, it's just sort of the main question is what do you think that mobile learning can bring to the table during the COVID-19 crisis? What's one thing, what's something significant that we can get out of mobile learning to help in the new mode of online delivery, etc.
Can I butt in really quickly? Can I butt in really
Yes.
quick there? I noticed that the European Information Systems Journal has just put out a call for papers, even concise papers, exploring the use of information systems in COVID-19. And I thought maybe we could answer that question in relation to a collaborative for that special issue. Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, no, great idea, and let's make a point of trying to do that. So you should hopefully be able to see my Safari screen. Is that correct? Yes, excellent. Okay, so this is the main ASCILITE site. and there's the sign up page there, which you probably all recognize because you're probably all signed up. And there's a page there for the mobile learning special interest group. But if you're wanting to point anyone else towards this, and perhaps anyone who's watching this webinar and hasn't signed up, then there's a sign up form there. As you can see, my internet's not great today. And go for the sign up form if you'd like to actually officially become part of the team, the group, and then we can enroll you in some of our other tools. We have a WordPress site, which is kind of a blog, occasional posting of what we've been up to, try to curate some of the work we do there. We have a list of some of our core members, and I encourage people to sign up for Orc ID if they haven't already, and Gravatar, or another form of online profile, depending on your preference. Gravatar is quite a nice one. It allows you to sort of link in a whole lot of online profiles. So Orc ID for your research and Gravatar for your online profiles. So that's the WordPress site, which is just ASCILITEMLSIG.wordpress.com. We also have a community discussion forum, and this is a self-hosted Moodle install. So we used to use Google Plus Communities, which were a lot more interactive and worked really well with the app on your mobile device. But unfortunately, like many things, Google decided to close it down. So we moved to Moodle for last year. You can see I've tried to sort of link some of the tools we use there. Tags Explorers for curating social media with the hashtag #ASCILITEMLSIG. We have a Twitter, our sign up form, and the blog page I've just shown you. In the social forum really is the discussion forum for the SIG. It's public, so anyone can view, but only signed in members can actually post and contribute. So I'd be really keen for people to sort of interact on this. At the moment, you can see it's predominantly me and predominantly announcements, but it'd be great for it to actually become a bit of a place for discussion and sharing of ideas and resources. So perhaps, James, you could post something there about the idea you just come up with around, you know, special issues of journals, etc., that we could work towards. The other thing we do is this weekly webinar, or sort of occasionally weekly. We'll try to make it weekly from now on. And what I normally do is we've been using a few different tools. We used Google Hangouts for a number of years. Of course, that's kind of died. So we moved to Zoom last year. And Zoom has a lot of security issues, which is why it was a little bit hard to sign in today, because I ticked a few of those boxes, which actually made it hard for me to even sign in. We'll try to get that working a little bit more seamlessly for next time. So what I do is I record the webinars and then upload them to a YouTube playlist so other people can watch those if they like. So it kind of gives the avenue of asynchronous viewing as well as the synchronous chat. One of the core outputs that we've been trying to achieve is to really embed what we're doing inside of scholarship and research. And so we've been co-editing, guest editing a special issue of a journal over the last 4 years. We did an AJET special issue 2017. The last 2 years we've done a special collection in research and learning technology, which is ALT's journal, Association for Learning Technology in the UK, which is kind of like the associated body society in the northern hemisphere to what ASCILITE is in the southern. So they have a journal which has been an A-rated journal. They did drop their rating a bit because they went from 10, I think it was 10 online, 10 Taylor and Francis publishing, to going open access. And in going open access, they have to rebuild their impact factor. But we've been doing a special collection on mobile learning, and particularly around mixed reality in mobile learning. You can see some of the papers there. We're in the process of putting the editorial up for last year's editions. And what we've done is we've just made this an open rolling special collection so that each year we'll just be adding to it. So instead of it being like a special issue 2018, 2019, 2020, it's an open special collection that's rolling. We do a rolling review process, a rolling publication process, and at the end of each year, we're going to do an editorial to sort of tie all that year's papers together. So that gives us hopefully a bit of a scholarly framework for what we're doing, and also provides the community with an option for publishing their work. We've got a bit of a research map, shows us that we have a bit of an international impact. What I'll do is I'll create a new map and invite everyone to add themselves to it, so we can get a little bit of an idea, geographical idea of where the spread of our members are from. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And one of the other things that we've been doing in New Zealand, which I want to really sort of bring to Melbourne and Australia, is the idea of the Scholarship of Technology Enhanced Learning Research Clusters. And we have an annual symposium that we've been running in Auckland, New Zealand. But I'd really like to take this beyond New Zealand into international, and perhaps we'll create a sotel.au or something like that. So that's the really brief sort of overview of some of the activities of the SIG. And if people got ideas for other activities, you know, obviously face-to-face at this point is rather difficult, but anything else that people would like to work on, I think is a really good idea, then certainly suggest them. It might be a good place to do that in the Moodle forum, or discuss it in these webinars. So I'm going to stop screen sharing there and boring you with monologue. And so, yeah, what ideas do people have? How can mobile learning have an impact in the COVID-19 you know, crisis, I suppose? How can we help?
Hi, Tom. It's David here.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting that's come about from COVID-19 is, from AUT's perspective, is that there's a significant amount of students here in New Zealand that don't have internet connections or they don't have mobile devices. You know, certainly now the communications has been that AUT will teach online for the rest of semester 1. And we don't know where we're going in semester 2. So AUT are now frantically, I think it's 1,500 laptops they're going to be shipping out within the next week or so to students to get them online, and indeed internet packages as well. So that's really interesting where they're coming from there. But from my perspective as a teacher, and you know, I've taught AUT for 15 years now, and progressively as we've gone on over the years and we've seen the increase of more mobile technology and iPhones, etc. You know, all the students that I know of have at least a mobile phone. You know, more importantly, it's more Apple devices they have as well. So I'd say about 95% of the students that I know of, and indeed this is from South Auckland as well, which is a poorer area, they still all have Apple phones and mobile devices. So I guess my answer to that question is, how can the university deliver their teaching via mobile devices such as mobile phones, as opposed to, say, laptop computers? I know laptop computers can still be seen as mobile learning, but I think true mobile learning is like tablets and mobile phones.
Yeah, I agree, Dave. I think that the stats really do show that pretty much everyone these days owns a smartphone, and for most people, it's their primary source of access to the internet as well. I guess things may be a little bit different in Australia because Australia is so geographically vast. in comparison, New Zealand is tiny, and of course, you can cover 90% or more of the country with 4G. A little bit more difficult in Australia. And I've heard interesting things about your NBN experience so far. So I'd be interested to find out from our Australian participants what they think. What can the impact of mobile learning be during the COVID-19 crisis? We've got Meredith, we've got Tom, who else we've got? We've got Neil from Japan for a slightly different perspective.
I've had a few of our teaching colleagues using their mobiles to create content. So when our lectures all went online really quickly, quite a few of them just found it was easier to use their mobile to record their lectures or to chunk content in that way, rather than using universal capture or any of the other options that are available to them. So I think using a mobile to create content for delivery is also quite an interesting area as well. The quality seems to be a lot better than using Zoom to make your recordings as well. That like the video quality seems to be stronger. I mean, we've just, as you probably know, Tom, we're just rolling out Canvas on our first semester of Canvas LMS, migrating from Blackboard. I think the feedback I've had from students, they seem to like using Canvas, the app version of Canvas on their phone. So it seems to be working quite well. I even had some of my teaching colleagues talk about marking from the mobile as well, and they've been finding that that's been sort of quite easy to do. Yeah, so I guess there's a whole lot of different areas. There's content creation, there's obviously the student experience of their learning as well. There's I suppose the affordances of mobile devices as well, that and maybe some of the interesting ideas around content creation, using tools like SeatBeacon and importing images that students can take on their phones and things like that. I think those sorts of things are quite interesting, and I guess assessment's another big one.
Yeah, I agree, Meredith. I think the big key with mobile learning is rethinking, getting away from content delivery to a small screen to how can these devices actually create and publish content, and it being user-generated content. Because it's just so much easier, as you said. The cameras on them are fantastic, much better quality than a webcam on a laptop, and you can embed geographical location data. It's all there by default, and allows you to do geolocation. There's all sorts of sensors built into smartphones that you can leverage. And indeed, even though it keeps popping up on my screen that my internet connection is slow, I'm actually tethered to my Android phone because it's faster connection than my VDSL at home. So although I am using my laptop for the Zoom, Tom, I'm connected through my mobile phone, which is actually a faster 4G connection. Yeah, so that's great. Any thoughts from James, Tom, Neil?
Yep. I think that's really interesting about the teachers and the student experience. I wonder if it's just as an observation that the students perhaps feel more connected to the content, and that there's a less formal structure in play, especially if you've got a portrait view. You sit here like this with your phone chatting to people online, or to your mates, and if the lecturer records their content in that portrait view as opposed to that traditional landscape formalized view, that there's that that connection to them in a way that they feel confident to interact, but also less formalized.
I think
maybe
part
their
of the key as well,
are...
James, is that because it's your own device, it's yes. much more personal and personalised, isn't it?
Yeah,
and so the whole learning experience becomes more personalised.
Yep. So I used, because we've just finished our first semester, our first trimester, and we had to modify all assessments at the tail end there to cope with this. And one of them was that they usually do formal presentations and pictures of concepts that they produce. And this time around, it was a video pitch, and really it was trying to be sort of like an elevator pitch. So changing it from that formalized pitch to a bunch of investors to more of an elevator pitch of your idea, using a phone, go outside, create content that is something that you might post on a social media site about your product, as opposed to perhaps a formalized pitch to investors. And so that's how I shifted and changed the concepts to make it fit within that particular device, and it worked really well. I was extremely pleased with a number of the students. I noticed that the film and television students did very well with that. Some of the others, maybe from the more structured courses like law, etc., struggled a little bit. But the more creative students really enjoyed that side. And also the use of app construction. So for me, one of the biggest problems is the stores and actually having content up there. But if you use beta versions of TestFlight and other systems for Google Play, that you can actually put beta apps up for augmented reality, for other types of systems that you would use a smartphone for. And we've had incredible success just being able to get content up on there, give students a link using a QR code to beta apps. And it's actually not that difficult process to go through to be able to push that content up there under beta, have them download TestFlight, and then use augmented reality in the classroom. And we've done that with hundreds of students, Chinese students in postgrad construction and in the health sciences.
Yeah, cool. And of course, you're starting to move into geek speak there, but that's okay. But yeah, there's simple stuff that you can do, like creating QR codes and just using an online form to create them, and then using the camera on your smartphone to recognize and decode those, whether that be a URL, so it's easy access to a URL you don't have to type in, or it could be a contact to go like as a virtual business card. It could be initiate a phone call. You know, people, when you start thinking about mobile learning, people tend to forget that it's actually a communications device as well, that it has a microphone built in. And so being able to leverage audio in your teaching in a new way as well. Just some of the simple things that you know, for some reason people sort of tend to forget about. So Tom, have you got some ideas for us?
Well, I suppose being an old-fashioned computer professional, I take the contrary view. So for years I've been working on mobile learning that's backward compatible with traditional learning management systems, and trying to provide the contents that'll work on the desktop and on the mobile device, and focusing on making sure that the capacities needed will fit with what the students have. So I'm taking a hair-shirt approach at the moment. I don't have, even though there's a fiber optic cable to the basement of my building, I'm using wireless at the moment for my data access, in part to remind me the limited access the students have, and I'm using a $15 a month data plan for that, which is working fairly well. I had the problem that many of my colleagues think Moodle is a radical new advanced technology that they can't cope with. So, you know, doing anything more fancy is something they just find rather strange. So I'm always making things that look like old-fashioned course notes, old-fashioned examination designs and so forth, and trying to ease them into the new age that way. which means the mobile experience for the student is a bit clunky. But at least they get to experience, because my colleagues will say, oh, okay, that's okay, we can do that, that sort of thing. By and large, so far, things seem to be working fairly well. I haven't had to change more than 3 words in my course design for this semester. I haven't changed any of the assessment. All I've said is the workshops that were going to be in the campus in the new building, our new teaching building, are instead going to be via video conference. But apart from that, all the course materials, all the assessment tasks, what the students do is all the same, except we don't have those few workshops. So by and large, that's worked fairly well, and I'm deliberately avoiding any radical new approaches to things, because students have the problem of coping with worrying about whether their loved ones are dying in China and Korea and India. And so that's rather distracted them from study.
Sure. Yeah, I think scaffolding change is very important. You can't just throw people in the deep end. So I guess it really depends on where people are at and what sort of level of change that they're comfortable with. But certainly, yeah, you've got to scaffold that and stage it. So Neil, I know you do a fair bit of using apps for language teaching. Do you want to just give us a very, a 2-minute overview of perhaps some of the ideas that you have?
Yeah, I think those apps that I introduced before are self-study, and of course teachers can introduce apps to the students, but I think some of the things that colleagues have just mentioned are really resonating. The one about the smartphone penetration. All students basically have a smartphone, but many of them don't have a computer. And then for teachers, it's the other way around. Most of them have got some form of computer, but many of them don't have a phone. So there's a sort of a kind of interesting mismatch there. That, as Tom was saying, trying to keep things simple and sending out things that can easily be scaffolded, so that students can look on their phone at something that's been made on a computer. It's a very different sort of experience. So that's one area I think this group, if you were looking for ideas for support, is how do materials and concepts made by people who are not usually used to online transfer to students who are also not that used to studying online. Certainly this is the case in Japan. I think I've said it a few times on this forum before, that people have an image that Japan's really technologically advanced, but it isn't educationally at all. So again, Tom's point about Moodle being a highly advanced system, that's just completely flummoxed, I'd say, 3/4 of my colleagues who've never used any kind of LMS before. So this sort of mismatch between what teachers can do and what they're trying to do, and then what students are expecting, and that would be really helpful if, as a group, we could address that issue and maybe have some very simple case studies or guidelines or sort of general approaches to cross that gap. So that's my suggestion to your opening question, Tom, is what can we bring, is bridging that gap. Yeah, and then just the second is just very briefly, a more positive point is, as a language teacher, trying to get students to practice speaking or listening or doing some writing is hard on a mobile phone, but speaking and listening it's a fantastic device for those kind of activities. So that's a real advantage of the phone. over.
Yeah, no, you make some really good points, and it's about what is appropriate for the tool that you're using. So making students write an essay on a smartphone is just stupid, because you're just making their life a whole lot harder. But getting them to but getting them to record an audio or video reflection is much more appropriate. And maybe even using the speech to text transcription that's built into the accessibility, particularly of iPhones. If you're wanting them to then transcribe a video reflection into a written form, it's simple. So yeah, that might be a really good thing for us to do. Is each week, if we get together, when we're getting together, everyone shares one tip, one really short, 2-minute tip of a practical way of using a mobile device in the teaching and learning.
Yeah, brilliant.
So let's do that. So everyone sort of think about each week, come along with one mobile learning tip. I doubt that we'll get a whole lot of overlap with the same thing, and if we do, there'll be different views of it, so that's good. So over to Lisa. Lisa is our...
Yeah, just kind of listening to what everyone else is saying. What we've got at the moment, I'm in a training role for the LMS, but I also do linear design. And we've found the faculty that I have been assigned to look after that were very quiet on our LMS are suddenly wanting all these training sessions on how to do things on the LMS. Simple things like adding content. And it's just been a rush, and it's been, well, where have you guys been? You're not using the LMS. And it's in a design and creative technology area. So I get some of their work is practical, and I don't know what other platforms they're using, but suddenly they've got all these people that don't know how to use the tools that AUT's got, and how to make the things creative and accessible to students, and what to do to accommodate all the different learning styles. So we've had this big rush, and that's a bridging gap between using going practical and going online for a bunch of lecturers that don't know what online is. So that's been my couple of weeks.
Yeah, a lot of design creative technologies are very sort of studio, physical learning space based, aren't they? And conceptually, how do you transcribe that into an online format? Well, some really simple ways you can do that, but it's new thinking for them. And also,
bridging the gap. Go, David.
So yeah, I sympathise with you, Lisa, and that is what you're talking about. It is my school, and I know a lot of them, have been, slow to pick up the task. But yeah, I mean, I really do sympathise with you and your department, because I know there's going to be a lot of people, that they've just been using whiteboards, for many years. And they've been asking for laptops. They get the laptops, but they never use them. They've been asking for iPhones, but using it as a phone, never using its true capability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's bridging the gap between getting the lecturers trained up as well to use it, and also, as I said, making accessibility for all learners. In the way the format that they put their content up has been a bit of a challenge for them too, and also redesigning their assessments for online. That's been a bit of a challenge for us.
So as one of those people, I can understand what their concerns are, which is interesting, because if you look at the online courses, especially in the creative media design area, they're actually exceptional in being able to deliver their content using small form video, hands-on content, which is essentially the way that I deliver my courses in a face-to-face classroom anyway. So I always pre-record and have scaffolded content, and then I go in as a mentor into the physical room, as opposed to that old didactic delivery of demonstration in the hopes that students never ask you a question. But many lecturers in the creative industries, that's what they predominantly do, is they demonstrate while sitting in front of rows of computers, and then leave the room, and the students are expected to have followed along. So it is very, very difficult. So I appreciate the complexities there. And it's hard, I guess, when you're working with like a group like ours, where we sort of have that understanding of using these tools and creating videos and flipping classrooms and that methodology, where you're already preaching to the converted. So I guess it's good to hear from the other side, because I know that Bond yesterday, we had our first all of staff meeting, and just little things like the Zoom wasn't configured to have more than 250 people. And so you had all of these people saying, what's going on? I can't log in, and just even simple things. So yeah, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, so I think if we aim to bring a simple tip each week, and perhaps we'll also try to give a topic or a theme to discuss as a group each week as well. So I'll create a bit of a Google spreadsheet, and we can all throw some ideas about themes there, and maybe even guest practitioners or researchers in mobile learning. Or if you've got colleagues that are doing some, doing some cool stuff, or just share their experiences, then you might like to invite them as a guest during one of the weeks. So I'll create a Google form, share it with you all, and for next week, if you can come with a 2-minute little mobile learning tip, that would be fantastic. So thank you, everyone. I think we'll sign off here, and hope you all have a good week. And next week, hopefully, we'll get the meeting started on time. Very nice attire there, Neil.
Thank you.
I guess that's the rigor in Japan.
We can't even get those here.
Yeah, every householder is getting 2 free masks.
Wow.
That's our government's contribution.
Does that come with flour, toilet paper, and hand sanitizer?
No, that would be more useful, I think.
Yeah, because that's what we're out of.
When you've worn it out, you could use it as toilet paper, I suppose.
Yeah,
maybe a Snapchat filter over the top to make it look like it's got flowers coming out of it or something.
Yeah. Next week's top tip: how to make your own face mask. Anyway, thank you all.
All right.
Cheers,
Good to see everybody. Talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye.